Let's fight. Let's fight, folks. A very good evening to each and every one of you, wherever you guys are joining us from this evening, on Twitter, on Facebook, on YouTube. Welcome into the arena, folks. Welcome in the ring. Great to have each and every one of you joining us this evening. We just a minute or two behind, and folks already calling us, wondering when you're coming on. When you're coming on? No show tonight. People vex. People vex already. Welcome in the ring, folks. Let's fight. Let's fight. Let's fight. You know what you gotta do? Share the live stream. Share the live stream. Wherever you guys are joining us from this evening, great to have each and every one of you. Let's fight, folks. Again, good to have all of you in the ring tonight. Really great to have all of you in the ring. Good to have you guys with us this evening. I see Denny's, London Welshman is here. Welshman London. All the folks who are waiting before the show starts. The folks on YouTube are always waiting patiently, like Vashti, Magnot, and Rupert, August, Dean Inglewood. Dean, I haven't seen you for a little while there, Dean. Estelle Griffith, Rupert Young, Naomi Morris, Candy, Nelene Inderjeet, and all the other folks like Damian James who join us on YouTube. I see Deborah Sharona Lynch is joining us from the ghetto. Good to see you, Deborah. And Denny's London Welshman is here as well. Avril Singh. Great to see you, Avril. And all the other wonderful folks joining us in the ring, folks. Invite you guys to share the live stream. Wherever you guys are joining us from this evening, folks like Courtney Gill and Paula Pollard, all of you nice folks, Nadia Seafort, June Peters, Amanda Daniels, Claire Alexis Richmond, Onika Glenn. Oh my, so many fantastically wonderful folks. Patricia Graves-Andy, Goodman, Patricia Kisun, all the Patricias are in the ring this evening. Nehemiah William, let's fight, Nehemiah. Great to see all of you guys here in the ring this evening, guys. Great to have all of you. Great to have all of you with us. So good to have all of you with us this evening, guys. Would have it no other way. I see some other folks are with us. I see Wills Felix is here. Is it Skimone? Wills Felix Skimone. Sharon Griffith. Champion Boss Williams. Who is this champion boss? Is it a champion fighter? I see Carlotta Hines is here as well. Juanita France. Good to see Juanita. Laverne Haricharan. And Juanita, I'll be talking about another Juanita this evening, so you might want to stick around. Maybe it's you, Juanita. Laverne Haricharan. Kelman Passat. Great to see you as well. Siobhan McDonald, come on down. Great to see all of you guys. Again, Deborah Sharona Lynch is here with us. Dorette Jackson Felician is here. Anne-Marie Selby, all the usual suspects. Samantha Jilks is here. Wills Felix, Skimone again, and Vanessa Callender. Some fantastic folks. Guys, welcome in the ring. Welcome in the ring. Rosie Rose Jiff is here with us. And great to see Rosie Rose this evening. Guys, I want you to stand by. I'm not going to be long with the introduction this evening because we got to get through some information before we welcome all of our guests this evening, guys. So again, really great to see each and every one of you, wherever you guys are joining us from, at home here in Guyana or in the diaspora, folks. You may be joining us from some part of Asia, Africa, Europe, Australia, North America, South America, Antarctica. Wherever you fantastic folks are joining us from tonight, we are tremendously privileged. Again, thank you for joining us in the ring, folks. We would have it no other way. Great to see all of you guys. And we want to just get on with it this evening. As the British say, as the British do. You guys know as you come into the ring, you have to share the live stream, guys. Share the live stream. Wherever you guys are joining us from, share the live stream. Again, it's really great to have each and every one of you here with us this evening. Share the live stream. As we prepare to get to the fight card, we really want you guys to see what's on the fight card this evening. Share the live stream. And you guys know, we always say that that our ringsiders must assemble in the trenches. You all know what the trenches are. The trenches are the comment section. You all know we can got some trenches here. We can got some crosses. We got some Jagabats. And you know we welcome them in the ring. We welcome them in the ring. But don't spare them in the comment section. Don't spare them in the comment sections. Fight them in the comment section. Deliver some uppercuts. Deliver some jabs. Right? Deliver submission to the enemy in the comment section, folks. And you guys know how we do it here. Great to have each and every one of you. So ringsiders, assemble in the trenches and let's get to work this evening. We are so privileged to be joined by so many of you. And as you come on, guys, again, you gotta share the live stream this evening. Share the live stream far and wide. You know, that's how we do it, guys. And we want to see those emojis. We want to see how you guys are feeling, where we are, and to let you know we are ready to go. We're ready to show you guys what's on the fight card. Share the live stream. Show us those emojis. How did you pass the day today? Things like that we want to know, guys. Tell us how you passed the day. We're very much interested to know that in a big way. How did you pass the day? Share the live stream. Tag a friend. Share. We want to know. We fast and we're curious. We want to know, how did you guys spend the day? We are fired up, ready to go, looking towards that magic number. And as soon as we're there, we are going to be good to go, folks. We are going to be good to go. So let's get to work, folks. Share that live stream. Show us those emojis. You know we're craving for it. Y'all know we're hungry for it. Share the emojis. Share the emojis, folks. Share the emojis. We want to see those emojis. Share the live stream as well. And we want to let you know that we have coming up this evening, joining us as our guest in the main event tonight. Joining us in the main event tonight, we're going to have none other than our former Minister of Finance, the one and only Winston Jordan, and he's going to be walking us through some of the economic considerations and concerns of our day. Like, for instance, they're telling us about this 14.5% increase in growth in the economy. What does that mean for you? What does that mean for you? We want to know that. So we're going to be joined by Winston Jordan a little later on, folks. So stand by for that. And I don't know about you, but if you guys are ready, I am ready as well to get right into the hot topics, guys. And we're going to be joined as well by our very own MP Juretha Fernandes, who is going to be helping us through the paces with the finance minister. As you know, she is the shadow minister of finance, and to make sense of some of these what could appear to some people as intractable issues as it relates to the economy. So we're going to have that a little later on in the program for the main event, folks. But first, let's get to work with the fight card. Let's see what's on the fight card for you guys this evening. Again, as you share the live stream, we want to see those emojis as well. You guys know we are craving, hungry, and licorice for our shares. Folks, every day, you know, it's purgatory in this country. It's confusion powder. Every goddamn day. Purgatory and confusion powder. Purgatory and confusion powder. Today was no different. Today is no different. And that is why, ladies and gentlemen, that is why we got to start with the Jagabats. Y'all better send this live stream to somebody on WhatsApp. Whether you're joining us on YouTube, send the live stream. Amanda Daniels, we hope you send the live stream somewhere. Sparkling Wills, we hope you sent it somewhere as well. We got to talk about the Jagabats. The Jagabats going to feature front and center. Front and center, they're going to feature. But first, ladies and gentlemen, at home here in Guyana and around the world, welcome in the ring. Welcome in the ring. But first, look at what's happening in St. Lucia, folks. Look at what's happening in St. Lucia. St. Lucia gone up. St. Lucia gone up. Now, look what St. Lucia told parents and students today. This is the St. Lucia Ministry of Education, Sustainable Development and Innovation. Again, this is the St. Lucia Ministry of Education, Sustainable Development and Innovation. And according to the ministry, they informed parents of students who have no access to internet, who have no access to internet services to facilitate online learning, that they should inform their school soonest. and inform their child at their respective schools to submit their names and receive a MiFi. Now, a MiFi is a portable Wi-Fi device. Little St. Lucia. St. Lucia and got oil upon oil upon oil upon oil that are pumping. And if memory serves me correct, St. Lucia's major income earner is tourism. Little St. Lucia is telling us that they're giving their students a MiFi, those who cannot access online learning, who don't have the internet facility at home. They're giving their students. Oh, we get to show up. We get in show up, folks. And we got to do better than this. We get in show up. Little St. Lucia showing we up. So the powers that be that watching and getting reports from this program, this is a good thing to copy. This is a good report to be laid before the powers that be. That you know what? They got something that named MiFi. And St. Lucia given a MiFi per student to facilitate online learning. But closer to home. Closer to home, ladies and gentlemen. Closer to home. Now, I asked you guys last evening whether we had a fraud first lady. Whether we had a fraud first lady. And tech ups can get a little bitter. Let me let y'all know that. Tech ups can get a little bitter. Because I asked you guys to hold your pen. Don't rush to judgment yet. And we talked about how there was somebody in Suriname impersonating the first lady, buying up a lot of jewelry and so forth. And that person has been apprehended. But the question again has to be posed tonight. We got a fraud first lady. Do we? Why do we ask this question? We were made to understand from credible sources. Very credible sources. We want a real first lady. Compassionate, loving, motherly even. That's the kind of first lady that we want and we deserve. But the question again has to be posed. Y'all sharing this live stream, whether these kinds of qualities are reposed in our first lady. Our first lady should be above the fray of the day-to-day politicking. But is that the case? We were made to understand from credible sources that the first lady in the recent past had an event called Charity. Charity. And Charity ending in TE8 was a fundraiser. Folks, you better get your popcorn and your cokes. You better get your popcorn and your cokes. This is the time for your popcorn and your cokes. It was a fundraiser, ladies and gentlemen. And we heard that a particular individual bought a ticket to go to this fundraiser to support the cause of the First Lady. And we were made to understand when the First Lady, again, credible sources allege that when this individual purchased this ticket to go to the fundraiser, the ticket was $50,000 per ticket. Now that is some people minimum wage. I think it's 40,000 or 44,000 in the private sector is minimum wage. 50,000 per ticket. When this individual purchased the ticket, what did our charitable First Lady do? When she learned that this person was coming, we are made to understand by credible sources allege that our First Lady disinvited this individual. Disinvited this individual to the fundraiser. And the person I'm speaking about is Juanita Uburn, who has been a local broadcaster on the scene here for years. Tremendously professional. And we're being made to understand, ladies and gentlemen, what is Miss Uburn's crime? Miss Uburn was the public relations officer at the Ministry of Finance under the APNU AFC government. That is Juanita's crime. Folks, you all sharing the live stream. What is her crime? She worked for the coalition government and Neil Mark's name calling. Neil Mark's name calling as being instrumental in this buckatory, as being central to this confusion powder. Again, credible sources allege that when Juanita Newborn purchased her ticket for the Tea Party, she was subsequently disinvited. Folks, this thing want more people. You better share this live stream. So again, we ask the question, do we really have a charitable First Lady? Or do we have a fraud? Because again, we know that the First Lady is usually above these little skirmishes, who and like who and who say and them say and she say and he say. But again, credible sources are telling us, credible sources, that Juanita Newborn was disinvited from that $50,000 per person charity event. Moving on, folks. Moving on to the fires of the PPP. The fires of the PPP. And as you know, we've been examining this Clarence Green story. More questions than answer. More questions than answer out there in this Clarence Green story. We are made to understand that Green is out there, or rather, Ben is out there searching for the truth. The Minister of Home Affairs, he's out there looking for the truth, hoping to find it in some tree, somewhere hanging up, searching. But he ain't finding it. He ain't finding it. He looking. One day you hear Green is responsible. Next day Green saying he's not responsible. We have some information on this matter. We have an update on the latest with Green. We have an update on that. But first, on this very issue, there seems to be a little bacchanal between Ben and Anil. Between Anil and Ben. Because it is no longer this man that was picked up for robbery, Clarence Ben, who's responsible. Anil is suggesting, of course, that it is the APNU AFC opposition who is responsible for this fire and other fires. That is the contention of Anil. But where it gets a little bizarre is the effect of the fire on the administration, because Anil is contending, and this is a publication from Newsroom, right? Anil says that the government is neither phased nor affected by this fire. Is neither phased nor affected by this fire. They're going on as per normal. Because he's contending that moves are afoot by the coalition to destabilize their government. Every day is buckatory and we want to destabilize their government. So he's contending that the government again is neither phased nor affected. Neither phased nor affected. But Ben seems to have other things in mind. Because in the very same report, ladies and gentlemen, in the very same report, here is what Ben said. Ben says, this is the greatest singular blow against the criminal justice system. It is the greatest single criminal blow. The greatest singular criminal blow against the justice system in recent history. The burning down of the Brickdam police station. He says, he went on to say, it is a tremendous loss and represents a significant challenge. But Anil in the same report says, the government is neither phased nor affected. Oh, I wish that PR-wise, they would get on the same page. For the sake of the country and the spin and the propaganda, that you would agree to the lies that you all are telling, that you all would agree to the untruths. One report from the same installed administration, Anil says they're neither phased nor affected. All the cases he's losing in the courts since he became AG. He's neither fazed nor affected. But Ben, on the other hand, says it is the greatest singular blow against the criminal justice system in recent history, and goes on to say it represents a tremendous loss and a significant challenge. And folks, here's story here. Folks, here's story here. The fire service no longer go into the fire. The fire service no longer go into the fire. Here's story here. They no longer go into the fire. The fire coming to the fire service. The fire coming to the fire service. Now, I know some of you all scratching your heads, wondering is what Duncan talking about this evening? What Mr. Duncan is talking about this evening? The fire coming to the fire service. Y'all better share the live stream and show us those emojis. Now, because it's Guyana, because we got we own Bermuda Triangle here, because this is Guyana, that is your phrase. Anything happens, this is Guyana. Right? I struck. Listen to the irony. I struck, ladies and gentlemen. I struck. That was parked in front of the Guyana Fire Service. You remember the same fire service, the main fire service by the Sabrok Market Square that Irfan Ali didn't know was the main fire service. Ice truck was parked there and caught on fire today. Ice truck parked in front the Guyana Fire Service caught on fire. So they no longer have to go to the fire. The fire is coming to them. But we were made to understand, unlike the Brick Dam Inferno, they were quickly able to bring this under control. So it's purgatory in the fire service. That being said, as relates to the Green interview, well, the Guyana Fire Service held a press conference today. It was bizarre in many regards. They held a press conference, but they didn't want to say much on the Green issue. Veteran journalists had to tease out the answers out of them. You had to squeeze them to get the answers, and they called a press conference. But we learned several significant things from this press conference. Right? The persons who facilitated the press conference, the Guyana Fire Service, ended up telling the public, the nation at large, that when they interviewed Green, right, their team of experts, according to them, they said that the investigations are 85% complete. Y'all better share this live stream so the international community can know what is happening in this country. They said their team of experts in this 85% completed investigation relied heavily on statements that they secured from inmates of Brick Dam police station lockups. Right? They relied on their statements heavily on the inmates who were detained at the station on that day. What did the statements reveal? According to the fire prevention officer Sheldon Sons, none of the prisoners, brace yourself now, strap yourself in your seat. According to the fire prevention officer Sheldon Sons, relying on his team of experts, not just professionals, not just firemen, his team of experts, according to Sons, none of those prisoners, including Clarence Green, who the police said confessed to starting the fire, gave such a confession to him. None of the prisoners, including Clarence Green, who police said confessed to starting the fire, gave such a confession to him. Sons, again the fire prevention chief, he said that the fire service investigation started soon after the blaze was quelled on Saturday, October 2nd. Right? And the cause was determined on Sunday as this arson. But none of the inmates confessed to them to have started this fire. None of them. And so that is where we are. That is where we are on the greatest story of our time. The greatest story of our time. Of the lighter, the wire, and the sponge. That is today's installment of the lighter, the wire, and the sponge. Y'all sharing this live stream, you're just coming to view and to leave and not give anything. Give us a share. And we want to see those emojis. The lighter, the wire, and the sponge. That's today's installment. Folks, signs of the time. One of our guests already in studio. Waiting patiently. Signs of the times. Very quickly before we have our guest. There was a bee attack in Barbies. Well, else could go wrong? There was a bee attack in Barbies. Trying to find my place in my notes. A bee attack in Barbies, ladies and gentlemen. A bee attack. Well, things can't get worse. Things can't get much worse than that at all. And the story is told that at Eversham village in the quarantine, one John Sutherland was attacked. Tragedy struck John Sutherland in Eversham village on the quarantine. Well, if a ice truck could burst into flames, an ice truck in front of the fire service, well, it can happen. So that while that bee attack was happening at Eversham village on the quarantine, a woman lost her grasp on life and was found hanging at the Georgetown Public Hospital Corporation. She was found hanging there in the washroom. Signs of the times. Signs of the times. She was found hanging in the washroom of the Georgetown Public Hospital Corporation. And crime continues. While Ben and Anil differ on the impact of the fire, crime is still spiraling. Crime is still spiraling. And look what we have learned. Look what we have learned. Folks, so many things we're learning. Crime spiraling. A technician stopped to relieve himself. Mistake. A 27-year-old technician was reportedly robbed of a white and black Toyota Fielder, an iPhone X, and one Lenovo laptop, and $17,000 in cash. The man was proceeding about his business. He couldn't hold it. Stopped to relieve himself. Mistake. The gentleman was robbed. And he's asking for justice. Crime is spiraling. And while that is happening on that side, we told you all, don't come wrong. Don't come wrong, Leroy Smith funny. We told you all, don't come wrong, Leroy Smith funny. Last evening, we told you of that story concerning the Richmondville gated community, where residents were being locked out over alleged unpaid rent. Leroy Smith reached out to us this evening, during the course of the day, very upset about what is happening there and wanting justice. Leroy Smith said that the property manager, this Miss Sham, was never took care of the place at all. Leroy said sham is a sham. He says the property manager started collecting fees to assist with the development of the scheme, including roads, drains, and lights. He said personally, he never saw any personal movements, never, in addressing the conditions of the roads. Leroy told us, he said, I brought this to her attention while others brought several other shortcomings to her attention, but they never did anything there. According to Leroy, he said she became very dismissive of their concerns, and he said he took the decision to cease giving them any money. He said in June of this year, she prevented his ingress and egress, his going and coming from where he lived there, with assistance of a security guard. He said he cautioned her. He cautioned her that she was acting unlawfully, and yet again that same day she prevented him from going and coming from where he lived. He said he called in the police. They were invited to the station. Statements were taken and sent to the DPP for advice. The file returned with instructions to lay charges for unlawful restraint, which falls under the Kidnapping Act. And he said they were charged. The matter is in court. He said, in addition to all of that, he said that several other persons from the community there, Richmondville gated community, have the developers in courts for several breaches of contract. He went on to say that they started a home owners association, and the Richmondville administrators refused to recognize it, another unlawful act according to Leroy. Y'all don't come wrong, Leroy, for the... And the last we heard of this matter is that Ms. Sham, the Sham, is trying to delay criminal charges proceeding by filing a high court proceeding of our own. And as we get more information on this issue, we're going to have it for you. Folks, time for our guests. Cost of living going up. The PPP announced recently economic growth of 14.5%. Fact or fiction? Our guests will tell us. Fact or fiction? What we know is what they've told us, that we have had, ladies and gentlemen, we have had an inflation rate of 5.6 in the first half of this year. Now, in the mid-year report, ladies and gentlemen, of 2017, who was in power then? Oh, I think it was the APNU AFC. We had 1.1. Mid-year report for 2018. What was the inflation rate? Oh, yes, it was 0.9. The mid-year report for 2019, who went in power then? 1.6. The mid-year report for 2020, 0.05. The mid-year report for 2021, 5.6. It means cost of living has gone up. And as you know, your salaries ain't gone up. Public servants still waiting. 5.6% is inflation rate. So does this growth in the economy of 5.6 or 14.5 rather, what does that mean to you? That is the question we're asking this evening. Ladies and gentlemen, for the main event tonight, I have the distinct privilege of having with me one of the best finance ministers we've ever had, the Right Honorable Winston Jordan. And I want to welcome him this evening in the ring. And we're going to join, a very good evening, sir. And we're going to be joined as well by the Shadow Minister of Finance, Juretha Fernandes. Minister Jordan, a very good evening to you, sir, and welcome again.
Good evening, Sharon. Good evening to you. Good evening, Juretha, and good evening to your listeners.
Great to have you, sir. Now, I tried to set the pitch a little bit there, sir. And my colleague is going to help me with my own shortcomings on economics. Now, sir, you have this big figure out there, 14.5 economic growth. But what does that mean to the small man?
Yes, Sharon. Well, once again, thanks for inviting me to the program. Before we jump into that, I just want to get this point into the public domain once again.
Go right ahead, sir.
By way of introduction, for your listeners who don't know, they will be re-educated. That Section 671 of the Fiscal Management and Accountability Act mandates the production of a half-year report 60 days after the completion of the half year. Now, by elementary maths, counting from the half year, 60 days will take us to the 29th of August. And the law requires that that report be laid in the National Assembly. There's no excuse that the National Assembly is in because this law was put in place under the PPP. The Fiscal Management and Accountability Act was put in place under the PPP. And Parliament goes into recess every August the 10th is a fact for many, many, many years. So there can be no excuse for the half-year report not being in Parliament by August the 20th. If it's there and it's embargoed, fine. Just as in the case of the Auditor General's report, the law mandates the Auditor General's report to be in by September the 30th. And as you know, earlier in September or middle of September, the Auditor General, with his tie and his usual pomp and ceremony, was there handing over the Auditor General's report to the Speaker. And as soon as you all go back in session, that report will be laid. So there is no excuse whatsoever for this report not being in at least in the National Assembly by August 29. Please note that under the coalition government, not only did we produce that report within the specified period, but we had the report in Parliament before Parliament went into recess. That is before August the 10th. This is a very important report for planning purposes and so on. And to bring that report out in October, and only because my lone voice and to some extent MP and Ferguson, who wrote a letter in the papers, that they were forced, as we said, take shame out your eye and put this report in the public domain. Otherwise, we would not have known about this report. But I think it is unfortunate that one way of dealing with the coalition, which was harshly when it comes to laws and implementation and policies, and another one for the PPP, where they are given a free pass almost on every occasion. But I don't think as the opposition, you guys should allow this to pass whenever the Parliament comes back from recess. Someone, you guys should be preparing a statement to make in relation to this report not being the violation of the law as it stands. Yes.
Very well.
Fact or fiction? Well, the 14.5%, we have to agree, is a fact. There's no question about it. But the fiction comes in when we have the very classic distinction between growth and development. When you look at the 14.5% growth, let me give you some figures between oil and non-oil, because it's important for this distinction. Oil came into, the first oil was in December of 2019. So any growth that we had in 2019, which is the last year without the direct effects of oil, would have been purely due to the policies that we would have had in place.
No,
okay. So at the half year, the non-oil growth in 2019 was 4.2%. 4.2%. At the half year in 2020, the non-oil growth was negative 4.9%. And at the half year in 2021, the non-oil growth is 4.8%. So there hasn't been any growth between 2019 and 2021, even though 2021, even though we call it non-oil growth, would have still been influenced by the fact that we have oil being pumped in this economy.
Very well.
And let's hear about another aspect of this. Half-year growth is not measured from January to June. Half-year growth is year on year, which is the half-year June 2020 to the half-year June of 2021. Now, given that understanding, let us go what happened to the half-year June 2020. And as you know, elections and their country temps, together with the emergence of COVID, culminated in the relaxation, if you want, is a nice word, but it's really and truly a decline in the economy. Even without COVID, when you have elections on the horizon, private investors tend to start holding back on their inventories. Some of them start shipping out money and so forth. So activity tends to slow down until after the elections results have been declared, and we take another 3 months, 4 months, maybe up to 6 months to get back to quote unquote normal. In the case of Guyana, given the elections of the past, some of them have been violent. In the aftermath, people tend to wait and see even longer. So the fact of the first half of 2020 would have been that anywhere was compounded now with the COVID. And so businesses literally shut down. In fact, the measures that we had put in place had curtailed businesses, had curtailed stay eating in, had curtailed going into the offices, and so forth. So there was there was a curfew in place. I think it was a 6 to 6 curfew and whatnot. So there was a severe compression of businesses in the 2020. Why am I stressing this? Is because you will expect an explosion in growth, everything being equal, coming from such a low base. As I said in a previous program, if you have 5 today and next year you got 10, the increase is 100%. But the next year, if you got 15, which is another 5 added, the increase is only 50%. You see, so the rationale, the moral of that story is it is easier to build back from a low base than to continue growing at the rates that you were growing. So this 14.4%, excluding oil, which is down to 4.8, is a growth, let us say, that is expected, that should have been far greater than the 4.8%. Mm-hmm. The other thing that is showing clearly in here is that notwithstanding all the talk about diversifying the economy, about agriculture being the premium sector and so on, it is clear for everyone to see that in a relatively short space of time, oil has begun to dominate the economy in every single way. It is dominating exports, it is dominating local production, it is dominating financial flows, it is dominating financial investments, and it's only 1 year.
Yeah.
And it's only one FPSO. So if oil is having that kind of dominance in the economy, pray tell what is going to happen when we put 10 FPSOs out there. All the talk that seems to suggest that we must diversify is just that. And in fact, when you go through even, I'm going to leave something for you, Joretta, don't worry. I seen you, just taking over a little bit. When you look at the some of the sectors that have been, didn't perform, right at the top of the sectors that didn't perform is agriculture, forestry, and fishing. Uh-huh. In fact, as I have here, fishing declined by 6.6% year on year. Yeah. You had a half year 2020 that was dismal, and a half year 2021 that should have been better. But fishing declined by 6.6%.
With all the trawler license fiasco with that.
Forestry declined by 7.1%. And the one that was heartbreaking for me was that other crops declined by 7.3%. This at a time when everybody is telling you in the context of COVID, you need to eat your vegetables and your fruits.
Yeah.
If that is declining, on top of the fact that it's so expensive to even buy anything local, pray tell, when are we
14%
of the COVID? So yes, indeed, 14.4%, as they announced, is real, but it's fiction in terms of what it means to the average consumer and the average worker, and definitely the public servants, which I'm sure we're going to come to. Over to you, Joretta.
Well, I love the way Mr. Jordan wrapped it up, and I was telling you I was coming on, just being beside Mr. Jordan. I'll be here to co-host with you rather than to actually be interjecting. But I know I'm following on some of the comments that are coming in. I know some persons are asking where they can find the reports and so forth. I know the report you can find it easily at the Bank of Guyana website. That's one of the places you can go and get that report right now. And also there is that you can find a history of all the other half-year reports to make your comparison yourself. since 2015 to now what went on. And I think Mr. Jordan made a very excellent point, and I think persons need to understand it very clearly that when we are looking at the half year report, is not coming from you're not comparing it from where we left off in the previous year, but rather from January to June, the first half year against the first half year last year against the first half year of this year. So that's extremely important for us to remember when we're looking at this report, because it's being pegged against those numbers. And like Mr. Jordan rightly said, when we went in, we had an elections period going on back then, and you would know, Sharon, Mr. Jordan, when COVID hit Guyana, the coalition took very strict measures as it relates to COVID-19, and we did not choose to spend. We did not choose the whole economic activity on while risking human lives. We choose to protect human lives. So there was a lot of shutting down of so many things. You will remember the PPP did, well, they're doing the exact opposite of that, because they're trying desperately to push those numbers up at the cost of human lives. And we've been talking about these things before. Now, I noticed just before we came on that you were looking at the inflation figures. I would even tell persons that if you're going to look at the report, you can go look at the report. I think page 10 of that report on the Bank of Guyana website would actually show a graph from 2017 to 2021, the way in which they plotted the GDP growth. And you would see the 2018-2019 period, and then in 2020 you had that plummet coming straight down. So now they're barely catching up to where we left off. In my last budget debate in Parliament, I was saying that I'm projecting that they're not even going to catch up at the end of the year to where they took it from us when we were performing, when we had that full year in 2019. And there we have it. I expected them to do so much more, given the new resource of oil and the fact that they have so much more they can get done. But here we are, like Mr. Jordan rightly said, they have failed tremendously, and persons are yet to feel that real change. I know he touched a lot on the GDP, but Sharon, one of the most interesting thing that we're looking at is the inflation rate. And Mr. Jordan, I know that you would have interrogated those numbers yourself. What is going on? Look at the inflation rate right about now. The Bank of Guyana had the inflation rate relatively stable throughout the entire period that the coalition was in office. Speak to us about that.
Absolutely, absolutely, Juretha. You see, in economics, as you know, something called money illusion, right?
Yep.
Which is, if let us say I'm a public servant, if you offered me $10 and I said, but listen, the inflation rate is 0, and therefore you're better off than if I offer you $100 and the inflation rate is 50%. Which one would you take? Or on average, the rational person, unfortunately, will take the $100 because
the illusion.
It's the figure. Okay? It's the figure. 100 is bigger than 10. They're not worried about the fact that inflation is 0 and therefore your $10 will buy more than your 100. But we got to continue to educate people about that. In the entire 2015, even up to 2020, because we had 7 months of 2020, the inflation rate was more or less stable. In fact, the half-year inflation in 2020, Gerard, wasn't 0.5, was 0.05.
0.05, yes.
Yeah, thank you. Corrected.
Which is smaller than 0.5.
Yeah.
You understand? And that 0.05 obviously came from the depression in the economy, occasioned by the elections and the COVID and the measures that we put in place. Therefore, people didn't have to travel and so on and so forth. The only things that had a little bit of a spike, of course, was things to do with cleaning agents and so forth that you had to buy for, when the COVID first started out, and some staples as a result of due to the fact that supply was then beginning to contract as a result of the whole contraction of businesses. But 0.05 is the closest you can get in the context of inflation to 0.
Yep.
So the money that you had in 2019 could buy the same goods in 2020.
Yep.
It's the effect of what you had.
Yep.
Now,
and
in coming from a low base, had that inflation been anything like about 1.5, 2.5, and so on, this 5.6 that they declared this year would have been more like 10. Remember all the they are coming from a zero base
Correct.
in 2020. The
Mr.
second,
Jordan,
the second point quickly,
right
I
ahead,
went
sir.
I went to the Bureau of Statistics website just before I came on here. And on that website, they have July 6.4%.
Let's
You
get
can
into
look
that.
at yourself. I don't know what it means. I don't know whether it means January to July 6.4 or July, the month of July 6.4% or whatever. But they have July 2021 6.4% is the inflation rate.
Yep.
So you got what's going on in this country, galloping inflation. And this will not subside. It will not subside, Sharon, contrary to what the report has put out there. It will not subside because up to yesterday, gasoline was $80 per barrel.
Yeah.
And outlook is for prices to reach 70s level when the oil prices hit. Certainly, gasoline is being projected to be $100 plus before the end of the year. Before the end of the year. And that will have, combined with the continued contraction in supply, the inability to supply, the problems you have to do with shipping and the cost of shipping and so on. And a most important variable, which you probably have to do another time because this now is a bit of economics we're going to come in here now. Nobody is asking where the government is finding the monies from to finance all these cash transfers and so on. You just have to go to the Bank again report. The government is running up its over on the bank account. And when we left, it was 78 point something billion dollars. At the end of December, it was 163 billion.
Wow.
I didn't have to check it before.
Spend.
But the idea here is that if you keep printing money and throwing it in the economy at the time when supply is not forthcoming, simple economics, my brother, too much money chasing too few goods, inflation. So not all of the inflation is imported inflation due to lack of supply and so forth. Some of that inflation is as a result of the policies that have been implemented in game.
Yeah.
And part of those policies is on the monetary side, where they are keep creating monies and the supply is not forthcoming. Hence some of the inflation that you see.
Mr. Jordan, I want to ask our viewers to continue to share the live stream. We want to see those emojis as well. Sir, let's talk about some of that money that they're throwing into the economy and some of those cash transfer. Nothing has been transferred to public servants yet. 2 budgets later, even though they have said $10 billion was set aside for the increase in wages and salaries to public servants, nothing has gone there. Tons have gone to Gaisuko. And we've said here on this program that we believe that Gaisuko workers should get what is due to them, as well as public servants must get what is due to them. Ram and McCray, in their budget focus highlight at the beginning of the year, talked about the fact that there was not much in the budget for Gaisuko. One wonders whether them not really and truly fulfilling, not fulfilling their promises of opening back the sugar industry to employ their base. This is compensation. This $250,000 each is compensation for that, for breaking their promises.
Sharon, to me, it's just a political point of whether they're breaking their promises or not. And I think you guys as the politicians can really make mileage out. I think a serious issue at hand here is a matter to do with discrimination. And I raised this matter this morning on CAMS TV, and perhaps I can just quickly
talk to us about that, sir.
What we're talking about here. Contrary to the nonsense that what's his name? That lawyer? What's his name? MP. MP
Sanjeev Dattinen. Yeah.
Putting out there, but sugar workers were left out there and they didn't get severance.
But yeah.
I don't know how. I mean,
with a straight face.
Does not lie. Not so, Sarah. I think you are not a lawyer, but you did a little. I would like to continue calling them lawyers and not liars. You understand? Because it's well known that the sugar workers, not only were they fully, they all paid their severance, but they were paid every benefit that was due to them. Whether they had accumulated leave, annual leave, whether they had to get some pension right, whatever. All of that were calculated and paid for by the government. In fact, on 2 occasions, the court said we had to pay interest because we didn't pay the full severance at the time when we severed them. We also paid the interest. We also paid the interest. So this business of now coming and saying that we're giving them $250,000 because they were severed by the coalition government, I am telling you, Sherrod, it has criminal implications.
Yeah.
This is not a cash transfer as they would have done to the pensioners or to the whole again when they were given $25,000. This is money is being given to a group of workers who had their obligations fulfilled by the state at the time when they were severed. So what is the $215,000? I can only define it as an ex gratia payment. All ex gratia payments got to come to the parliament with a bill. So I'm looking to see how they are going to determine that they are going to pay this $250,000 to these sugar workers. That's one. Y'all look out and raise issues about how this $250,000 is going to be paid if it's not by way of an ex gratia payment. We had to do it when we were doing it for Hamilton Green, when we were intending to give him pensions over and above what he was entitled to, and so on. So that is one. The second point is it now creates expectations of all those who had been severed in the past, not just sugar workers, because remember, 250,000, there is no rationale to giving sugar workers 250,000. It is not their severance, they got that. So all those workers who have been severed in the past legitimately can claim the 250,000. Can claim that 250,000.
Very well. Yep.
Third point, and it has already raised its head, those who are not severed in the sugar industry have now said what happened to them, that they now are entitled to the 250,000, even though they were not severed. This is the kind of crass and crudeness that you will have. And I also raised the point, the people who mostly should have been getting this is the community of Kokwani, where those workers were severed by Rusal and were barely paid severance, not even commensurate with the act. Yet nobody has gone there and said, you're going to get 250,000 to compensate for the fact that you didn't get your real severance. And that is the community that purely, wholly and solely depend on that bauxite. When you go, you will see communities that are indeed depressed compared to going to Barbies and finding depressed communities. So you're going to have those problems that are going to step up. And I hope all the public servants who have been severed since August the 2nd, 2020, will now put up their hand for their 250,000. That is, if it is found to be legal anyhow, for the government to be paying sugar workers $250,000 over and above the severance that they have got.
Very well. Juretha?
Well, I know, Sharon, I must say again, Mr. Jordan, you just wrap it up very nicely. I know that I can just put in like one of the things that you were just talking about, the fact that the report did show up, the statistic report actually did give a report up to July. And that report actually gave the growth from June 2021 to July 2021. And it was a 0.8% inflation increase. So again, no matter what the PP tries to say, they're going to try to say that the second half of the year is going to get better. But already you will see in just 1 month, the inflation rate went up again by 0.8%. And it's very, very alarming. Another thing that we must mention, I think it's very necessary to mention, is the fact that when we had very low inflation rate, when the coalition was in office every single year, the coalition made very well sure that the public servants of Guyana got a pay increase. Mr. Jordan is here. He was the one to come forward every single year and say, this is your retroactive, this is going to be your retroactive. Now, and it put more purchasing power into the hands of ordinary Guyanese. Now we have a situation in which prices are going through the roof. And I want to just say, we can look at that figure that they're talking about, but one of the most important figure for us to look at is not just that 6.4, not even that, but rather the 14% inflation rate that is for food items. I think that is the one that we need to touch on a whole lot. And if you go to the Bureau Statistic website, those data are there. This is not data that we're just pulling out of the sky. 14% increase in food. This is what Guyanese, your
Things tight.
livelihood. This is
Things
a
tight.
bread and butter matter, and persons need to understand it is hitting home. And I keep saying on these programs, Cheryl, the majority of Guyanese are poor people, and every single last one of us in this country knows people that are living paycheck to paycheck. These are the persons that are being affected, the families that are receiving minimum wage and so forth. They are yet to receive word about a pay increase for the public servants, and cost of living is on the increase, and not for luxury items, but for basic food items. And persons need to understand that. I know, Mr. Jordan, you've been touching a lot on the fact that they've been printing money, and this is something. I mean, the economics is vast on that concept all by itself. But another thing I want to touch with Cheryl, I know Mr. Jordan's here. I don't want to let him go without having him touch in the fact that before we went into recess, one of the last things that was said at the PAC meeting that I'm a part of, I'm a member of the PAC. One of the last things that was uncovered there is the fact that the government had issued up to that point about $200 billion in debentures. 87 debenture, totaling $200 billion altogether. How do they explain of? And another, before you answer that, and I
And
want
why is it important to the common man?
correct, and not only that, another thing that Mr. Jordan, if you can please touch on a little bit also, is the fact that underperforming ministries, the monies that were allocated to them, it has to be spent. And I know I've been getting word of some very much underperforming ministries at this point in time. So I know a lot of these grants and so that have been dishing out may be tied into that. What are your comments on that, sir?
Well, on the last point, I can tell you we had the same problem, as you know, in the coalition, that the ministries and departments, regions, and so on, in many cases underperformed as it relates to the capital investment program. That continues to be a problem and will be a problem because of several reasons. One is human. We don't have the human capacity to implement these projects. One is material, and as you can see, the importing stone, right? And right now they're trying to give out different quarries and so forth because stone is a big issue. And of course, the other one is machines. A lot of these companies that we have here, we have not been able to attract major companies that operate worldwide, and we still are not able to do so. You know, in the early days of the PPP government in 92, 93, you suddenly saw coming on the stream, on stream, two Trinidadian companies, one named Dipcon and the other one was named, I just can't remember it right now, but two people who I understand would not even get work in Trinidad. The real big companies in Trinidad never really came to Guyana. Companies in Barbados like CO Williams never ever even made a bid in Guyana, and so on. So we have never really had opportunity to really have foresight some of the big companies that operate overseas, and who used to operate here in the 60s and the 70s, like Taylor Woodrow and so on, well known for the projects that they have done in Guyana. You know, you just have to look at the Linden Soosdijk Highway and the Quarantine Highway, which were built by foreigners, to understand if we were able to attract quality contractors, how the problems that we have right now with these contractors and so on can disappear. So you're going to continue to have. So one of my earlier comments in the year was that this large expansion in the public sector investment program would not fly.
Yep.
We had small investment programs that we could not implement. So I knew they could not run with such an investment program. Yet when you look at the half year and you look at their projections on central government, they're projecting a deficit of $100 billion.
Yeah.
9.9 something, roughly $100 billion as their revised figure, which is consistent with what they had at the budget time, even though they will not be able to implement fully the public sector investment program. And that is where, for example, they are diverting monies maybe for these cash transfers and these flood relief and all these kinds of stories. It's unfortunate that we are not able to interrogate that even more, because some of the details are even hidden where that is concerned. So it is going to be the debentures. On the debentures front, I really can't answer because I really don't know the background. Okay, you issue debenture, you can issue debenture. Debentures is an instrument that we have not used a financial instrument that we have not used consistently in recent times, except as it relates to doing dummy transactions with the Bank of Guyana. Just before I left, I think I issued a 500 million debenture to the Bank of Guyana as our contribution to the insurance scheme, deposit scheme that we set up just before we left. But as an instrument for raising capital, we should get involved more with that long-term instrument for financing the public sector investment program. Right now, the public sector investment program is being financed externally through loans and grants, and internally from treasury bills. Now, treasury bills is a 90-day. It's a 90-day short-term financing instrument of the government to tide it over because of the highs and lows of revenue intake. But over the years, we have continued to finance public sector investment program using this short-term instrument. That no longer can fly, and I think a new financing scheme will have to be put in place that seeks to use other means of long-term financing, including raising bonds, local bonds, debentures, long-term debentures, and any other financial instrument. As you know, we had tried initially with testing the bond market when we successfully raised a $30 billion bond for Gaisuku, and the people will not pleased to know, but they may probably saddened to know that in addition to the transfers that the government is using from the treasury to Gaisuku, the government has retained the bond. They haven't given back the bond, because when we took the bond, it was in lieu of government financing Gaisuku from the treasury. When they came in, they made a big set of noise, but we took bond and so forth. But
And they kept it.
Given back the bond to Republic Bank. They have kept the bond. And the bond, which was on NISEL's books, have now been transferred to the government's books.
Interesting.
The government's books, which means that it's the government that is repaying that bond at the same time that they are disbursing the bond to Gaisuku and also transferring resources from the treasury to Gaisuku.
Very well, very well. Mr. Jordan, is there anything, or what is the pertinent thing, rather, that you want to leave with Guyanese as we just passed program time this evening, about all of that they're hearing about the economy and the economics, the high cost of living? What is the pertinent thing?
I started out by saying this is the classic distinction between growth and development. You are going to continue to see growth because you have ramping up of petroleum, and that growth will be driven by the petroleum sector. But because the petroleum sector is an enclave sector, which means it gets all its labor and its equipment and stuff within the external sector, from the external sector, and it draws from the domestic sector those that will enable its production to succeed. It means then that the wealth that is being derived from the petroleum sector is not feeding through to the rest of the economy. If agriculture does well, if sugar does well, sugar employs 10,000 plus people. and with households of about 3.5, I think it is, right? That will be an additional 35,000 people who will benefit from sugar doing well. Similarly, if rice does well, rice is a pretty much labor-intensive industry still. When those industries do well, money will seep through the economy. But petroleum doing well does not mean that the rest of the economy will do well insofar as people are concerned. And until the government understands that trickle-down economics don't even work in developed countries, trickle-down economics can't work in Guyana. And that is what they set out to do. I don't know who is their economic czar. I looked around and I didn't see any in their government. But when they came in, there was a haste to give away everything to the private sector. You hear Indar talking today about the last government put on taxes. We believe in freeing up the country of taxes so that when the economy will expand, then you could tax it. Well, then here the economy expanding. Have you taxed it? And have you distributed those taxes to the masses? No, because the masses are the ones now who are saying things tight.
Yeah. That is the one cry, the one refrain out there.
And
things tight.
Because capital is accumulating in the few hands of the private sector.
Yeah.
And not the workers. And they're so stupid. It is the workers whose marginal propensity to consume is almost one. In other words, what that means is that they literally consume all of their income
to
meet their basic needs. They're the ones who will spend.
Yeah.
When money is accumulated in profits, it's screamed off and sent overseas.
Point taken.
Only a tiny amount is left in the economy, and you will continue to hear things like, unless the government changes the backward policies that it have in place that seem to penalize the working class in this country.
Totally agree, sir. Totally agree.
For a so-called working class government, Teddy Jagger must be crying in his grave. Forbes Bonner must be crying in his grave, notwithstanding all the things that say. The big Rodney that they like to pick up, he must be crying to see what is happening here. All the profits that are being disclosed by banks, commercial banks, DDL, all these different places. It means money is being made, but the systems are not in place to ensure that the workers get a fair share through the taxation and other mechanisms. And the system is unfair because since the government has come in, it has given no tax break, no concessions to the workers. There has been no reduction in income tax rate. There has been no increase in the tax threshold. There has been no other concession that has been given to workers. But every concession imaginable has been given to the private sector. Every day you wake up, the government is finding a new concession to give to the private sector.
Yeah.
Mr. Jordan,
of the workers.
We have to have you back because we didn't get to touch on and to dissect and to interrogate some of the very issues that we wanted to, even though we got much done. For instance, it's the same private sector that we heard crying out about local content. 1 year plus later, crying out about local content. And this local content not being so local at all. So there's lots more we wanted to get into the weeds with you on, but we have to have you back. Having you is always a breath of fresh air based on the breadth and depth of your own knowledge of the subject matter, sir. We have to have you back very, very soon. Every finance.
Thank you, sir.
Well,
Thanks very much
first of all, Mr. Jordan, let me just tell you off the bat that I told Sherrod even before this program started that he's going to need 2 hours once you're on because the matters to be discussed so much, right? But I think Sherrod, it is what it is as right now. The PP has not changed a bit since they left office in 2015. Like we said, they came back in and they just picked up from where they left off, but they just went more aggressively to repay the debt that they had racked up in their campaigning promises, and so to the private sector, their private sector colleagues. I know that both my budget debate speeches thus far, I stressed a lot on the fact that they are exercising their policies basically. Well, there's not no policy at all, to be honest, but everything that they do is under the concept of trickle down economics, and Mr. Jordan just touched on that. I explained it in both my budget presentations, and for instance, I see the newspapers are actually picking up on it as of recent, but from day
Sabbath, you
one
had a
I've been
very, very
speaking about
scathing editorial quite recently on the very
it. Yeah.
subject matter.
Yes,
And
September.
yeah,
Yeah.
but it took a while, you know. Sometimes we wish that the journalists would pick up sooner on these things, because this is something that I spoke about from the very first budget presentation. And basically, like Mr. Jordan rightly saying, trickle down economics has been said to be a myth. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
And we
Yeah.
can see it right now. We have 14.5% growth being announced, and persons are saying where, and that's because the money is just not circulating. It's not going to trickle down. It's not ever going to trickle down, and the masses are going to feel the squeeze. And I said this before on your show, Sharon. I'm going to say it again as I leave tonight. Until the standard of living of Guyanese is actually elevated, until you can feel it as a household that your standard of living has been elevated, then don't tell me about growth in the economy or anything like that. Show me that what I was able to do last year, I'm being able to do more this year. As it is right now, households in Guyana cannot do even half of what they were doing back in 2018, in 2019. They can't do that. Let me just leave out 2020 and all. You look at the inflation rate, 0.05% in 2020, the first half year period. How dare the government come and try to boast as though that Guyanese are feeling some form of growth? It's not happening for the
Yeah.
real families out there. The selected few are benefiting. They're taking their families to shop overseas. The monies are being spent in other lands, and we're not feeling it here. The teachers are their actual spending power has decreased by probably around $9,000-10,000 to make a rough average for the average teacher's income. And this is what we're actually facing right now. And Guyanese are not stupid. We know what
Yeah.
is going on, and we're going to hold the people accountable. And I can't wait to actually interrogate this particular document some more, because it's a whole lot. It's a whole lot. You can't
Very
cover
well.
it in just half.
Very well. Former Minister Winston Jordan, thanks for being on the program. Thanks for being in the arena and in the ring. Honorable Juretha Fernandes, MP, thanks for joining us as well and for making such a fruitful discussion this evening. Thank you guys for being part of the program.
Thank you, Sharon.
Thank you for having us.
Great. Folks, that's our program for this evening. That's our program. We got to bring some meat to you guys sometimes so you can understand what is happening out there and what it means for you. Because they want to give the impression that all is nice and dandy, but that is not the case. It is not the case at all. Members of the public, thanks for staying with us. We just a little bit, well, not a little bit, into the overtime this evening. But it's our privilege having you guys. I'm going to stick around and still give a couple of folks a shout out. But again, thank you so much. Thank you so much for being in the ring this evening. It's always our pleasure and privilege having all of you here. Guys, this is what it's all about. This is what it's all about. The government is doing what it thinks it's in its own interest and in the interest of its supporters and its base. But this is the effect that it has on the whole economy. Things tight and people punish it. Things tight and people are punishing and suffering out there. Thanks for joining us. Folks, as you go, remember to sanitize, social distance, wear your mask, practice all the COVID-19 protocols that are there for your health and your safety, that of your friends, family, and loved ones. Thanks for joining us this evening, guys. Thank you, Jackie Baird, for being here with us still, and Desiree Emmanuel and Nanti Visante. Is it Visant or Visanti? Good to see you, Nancy and Naomi Morris. Great to see you as well. All of you fantastically wonderful folks out there. Great to see each and every one of you. Is it Jognand? Good to see so many of you there. I'm seeing some funny names. Guys, y'all gotta get some proper names, you know. Some proper names. If your parents give you all some funny names, you might got to rename yourself. Clive Jackson. Good to see you. Great to see you there. Minerva Patricia Musa Holder. Great to see you as well. Great to see you guys as well. Great to see each and every one of you. Fantastic folks. Fantastic folks. A great evening to MP Amanda Walton Desir, Angela McDonald, Marcia Agard, Joylyn Cook, Victor Bino. Nice folks on the lifestyle. Thanks for staying with us and to soaking up this information. Take it back to your communities, to your jobs. Discuss it with your family. Where this country is going. It's important to all of us. The PUP don't own this country. Neither New AFC don't own this country. But together, folks, we got to take it forward. And that's why we keep saying that all are invited in the ring. Whether you New AFC, you are PPP, you are whoever you be. No party, TCI, LBJ, well, whatever it is. All are welcome because we believe in the synthesizing and the contending of ideas. The best ideas emerge and we move the country forward. Not so Loretta Roberts, not so Chanel Ward, Vanessa Calendar, Candy Naline Inderjeet and Markey, Joylyn Cook, Claire Richmond. Not so. That is how we move things forward. And it's really a privilege to have each and every one of you in the ring. Guys, you know by now by rote that we ask you guys religiously to come and to partner with us, that we need your help to move forward, to continue to bring you substantive programs like this. Substantive programs like this. It tells you really and truly what is happening in the anatomy of the country. And so we want to continue to do that. And so we invite you guys to come on board and to partner with us and help us to move the process forward. Help us to build out our program. Help us to expand. We need your help. We need your assistance on a daily basis. That's what we ask you on a daily basis, to come on board and partner with us. We have several platforms available for you guys to contribute to our program, the upliftment of our program, the expansion of our program. At the Cash App is the $ in the ring 592. At Cash App again is the $ in the ring 592. At PayPal is in the ring 592. At Gmail, that's our Gmail address, in the ring 592 at gmail.com. At the MMG system, our local homegrown Cash App, it's 627-6963, 627-6963. We're also available on MoneyGram or at Western Union. Again, that number 627-6963. If you WhatsApp us there, you can get any guidance that you need. Send us some photographs, things happening by you, interesting things, newsworthy things. Send us your video. Send us your little information tips at that number as well, 627-6963. Guys, it's our privilege always having you on board with us. Do stay safe. Stay safe, guys. That's our program for this evening, and we want to thank each and every one of you for being part of it this evening. Each and every one of you. Each and every one of you, like Bridget Vigilance, like Janet Coates, like Blessed Child, Cheryl McGowan, like these folks, Africa Charles and Charlie Madison, you fantastic people. Thanks for coming in the ring. Clive Jackson. Is it Samuel? Good to see you there. Warnella Garnett and Kevin Sandy. Thanks for joining in the ring this evening. We're going to see you guys right back here tomorrow. Same time, same place. In the arena, in the ring. Thanks for joining us, guys. Stay safe.